Nowadays, professional fighters will do just about anything to maintain a perfect record. For some superstars, all it takes is one loss for their careers to spiral out of control, while very few others are able to bounce back and sustain their status. In this video, we'll go over a few nights that shocked boxing fans all over the world, but before we do, hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks. Mike Tyson. Tyson vs. Buster Douglas. Going into his fight, undisputed and undefeated heavyweight sensation Mike Tyson held the WBC, WBA, and IBF heavyweight titles. We're talking prime Iron Mike. #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Devastating knockouts. You remember Kid Dynamite. Ranked at number 7, most analysts had written off Buster Douglas before the fight even started, saying his head would be bobbing off the canvas by the end of round 1. To them, and the millions of Tyson fans across the world, Douglas was no more than a stepping stone for Tyson, but Douglas showed heart and put up one hell of a fight. Tyson scored a knockdown in the 8th round, and then during the 10th, Douglas ended up knocking down and knocking out Iron Mike Tyson for the first time.
Landing these, nice uppercut by Buster Douglas. Look at this, he's knocked Mike Tyson down.
To say the boxing world was shocked would be an understatement. Some said the loss was due to Tyson's separation from his former trainer Kevin Rooney, further claiming that Tyson's corner looked like they came from the Golden Glove Inter-City League that night. Regardless, Iron Mike forfeited his O and his invincible reputation, but he's still one of the greatest heavyweights to ever compete without a doubt. If you haven't seen him lately, take my word, Tyson is back for real this time. Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis was a star of his era, but going into the McCall fight, he was under some scrutiny. Lewis had just defended his title 3 times, not in the most spectacular fashion. At the same time, Lewis was overlooking McCall and already planning for a future fight against Riddick Bowe. The challenger McCall, who happened to be Tyson's former sparring partner, had lost to a few who's who's, but won 5 straight fights since entering Don King's stable. He became the mandatory challenger for Lewis. Lennox may have come in cocky, and which resulted in a short period until McCall dropped him and won by technical knockout.
Referee has decided it's all over. My goodness, what an upset on Lennox.
Lennox claimed he was robbed, and McCall initially refused a rematch. Then Lennox's trainer claimed McCall was babysitting the title belts until Tyson got out. Imagine that. Deontay Wilder. If you've been following boxing in the last 5 years, you know Wilder has the meanest right hand in the business. But that power wasn't enough to get past the slick style of the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. The two tied during their first bout on somewhat of a controversial scorecard, but Tyson Fury won by way of knockout in their second clashing, pulling out a style he never had used before. Most experts had Wilder to win by TKO, as Tyson Fury came overweight and seemingly unserious. He didn't even remove his shirt for weigh-ins. But Fury fooled us all and made serious adjustments since his last bout with Wilder. Wilder was overwhelmed by Fury's movement and pressure and didn't look like himself in the ring.
Trying to land this whole fight.
His physical stature, it belies his skill and his
nimbleness.
During the 7th round, his corner threw in the towel. Wilder has been fired up and frustrated ever since. He even fired the corner man who surrendered on his behalf and accused that same man of drugging him. Along with the strongest right hand in the game, he'll get the award for the sorest loser on our list. You could say it's a good thing he doesn't lose often. Anthony Joshua. After scheduled opponent Jarrell Miller failed 3 consecutive drug tests, Anthony Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn got on the phone for a new challenger, speaking to over 15 heavyweights within 24 hours. Hearn needed a man as the tickets for his DAZN event were already sold. Eventually, Andy Ruiz answered his call after volunteering to fill in over social media. Most thought Ruiz was an easy win because of his chubby physique, except Freddie Roach, who warned the media the kid could hit and was fast-handed. It was supposed to be an easy night to pass the time until Wilder happened, but Joshua knocked down Ruiz in the 3rd and Ruiz got up like nothing happened. He went after Joshua hard, straight after scoring a knockdown just seconds later. Ruiz then sealed the win with a TKO in the 7th after handing Joshua a beatdown for another 4 rounds.
Looks so tired, I think he wants out. That's it. He says that's it. Andy Ruiz is the heavyweight champion.
Because of a mandatory rematch clause in the contract, these 2 heavyweights met again. This time, Joshua came out with the win. There's no denying Ruiz's talent, but it's pretty obvious that Joshua overlooked Ruiz in the first bout. Canelo Alvarez. Unlike the other fighters on our list, Canelo Alvarez's only loss was a bit more predictable, and in the long run, made him a much stronger fighter. After Canelo's loss by decision to Floyd Mayweather, many said he prematurely took the fight. If you watch the fight and compare that Canelo to the Canelo we have today, you'd probably agree. The man has grown into a much more complete fighter. And check out the impact Floyd had on Canelo's style. Canelo has learned some crisp head movement tactics and rarely ever gets hit. Remind you of someone? In 2020, many have Canelo ranked number 1, pound for pound, as he hasn't lost since Floyd and has conquered multiple weight divisions in dominant fashion. It is fact that Canelo learned since losing his O, but now that he moves like Whitaker and packs a heavier arsenal of combos, could the Canelo of today beat a prime Mayweather? I think we'd all like to know the answer to that one.
Nobody.